I'm a 21-year-old male, and this experience happened last summer while I was on vacation at Myrtle Beach with my family. We were staying in a resort right on the beach, and we're on the 13th and 14th floor in a sort of timeshare. One night, I was feeling restless and having a hard time falling asleep, and at around 3 a.m., I decided to go out to the balcony to get some air. I stepped out and was stunned as there was a full moon, and the moonlight on the water was really beautiful. The beach was completely empty as far as I could see, and I had never seen it like that before. I decided since I wasn't able to sleep, I might as well head down, take a stroll, and listen to some music to relax. Hopefully, when I returned, I would be able to get some sleep. It was really unsafe and dumb of me, but since it was 3 a.m. and the rest of my family was asleep, I decided to just head down without letting anyone know I was going, as I thought I would just go and chill there for 10 to 15 minutes and then come right back up. So, at the base of the timeshare we were at, there was an area with a pool, an outdoor bar, and then two boardwalks separated by about 10 feet, which both led to the beach. On the sides of the boardwalks, there were swaths of tall grass separating the ocean and the resort. When I got down to the base, the entire area was completely deserted, and I started walking down the boardwalk on the right towards the beach. As I'm walking down, I suddenly see someone approaching me from the beach, which was strange because I had a pretty clear view of the same area from the balcony just before, and I had literally seen no one. I started to get a bit nervous, and I see this figure approach, and as I get closer, I see that it's a man, maybe in his late 30s, who has a backpack on and is wearing glasses with large, square lenses. As he gets closer, I get a clearer look at him as the boardwalk is sort of illuminated by lights from the outdoor bar. He looks very on edge and alert, almost like he's trying to find someone who is trying to meet him in this area, and his clothes are somewhat tattered. We made eye contact and I sort of nodded him and passed. At this point I'm creeped out, cause honest to God, he had the sort of Jeffrey Dahmer look. Maybe it was the glasses, and he didn't seem like he actually belonged to the timeshare. I shake it off and keep walking down to the beach, and I put my headphones in. As I get to the beach, I turn right and start walking parallel to the water, and I'm just taking in the scenery. I'm barefoot and decide that it would be nice to walk just along the shoreline, so I move closer to the water and continue walking. I'm walking for no longer than a minute before I get a really strange feeling that something is wrong. I take off my headphones and turn around, and I see a dark figure that is trailing me just up shore. He is situated in between me and the timeshare. I can immediately tell from the figure's height, body type, and demeanor that this is the same man I had passed on the boardwalk. At this point, I'm starting to panic, as every story from Let's Not Meet is rushing to my head. At the same time, I'm trying to rationalize, as it feels too surreal that it may actually be a dangerous situation. So I remind myself that it could just be a coincidence, and the man decided that he also wanted to take a walk on the beach, and just happened to be headed in the same direction as me. So I take some breaths and turn my head back to the ocean and continue walking in the same direction. After a couple of seconds, I turn my head back again and see that now he is much closer to me. It is not walking parallel to me, but is definitely actually walking towards me. I pick up my walking speed now, and I turn my head back around and see that he is matching my faster pace and is still walking towards me and the water. Still, for some reason I think, okay, maybe he also wants to walk by the water, There's no way I'm actually being followed by a creepy man on a deserted beach. So at this point, I truly test it. I do a 180 and completely change directions. And as I turn my head, I see him completely change directions with me and continue closing the distance. And he's power walking now. It suddenly hits me that I'm in a really bad situation, and I take off on a run along the water, and he starts running as well, but stays up short of me so that if I try to run up towards the boardwalk, he will intercept me. I'm freaking out now and just keep running with no plan, but figure that I'm 20 and sort of fit. I should probably be able to keep running along the water and outrun him, and then find some other exit off the beach and either call my family or head back to the timeshare on the road. So I keep running, but he's keeping up with me. Man, this goes on for what feels like 10 to 15 minutes. The scariest part of all this, which I wouldn't have thought of, is it is completely dead silent. All I hear is my breath and the feet in the sand, and when I turn, I only see his shadowy figure up shore keeping pace with me. Suddenly, up ahead in the sand, I see a small blue light, and what looks like 4 people on the beach with a blanket. They're a bit up shore. I turn and look at the figure and bet even though they are up shore, I can beat him to these people. So I start sprinting towards them with hopes of quickly telling them what's going on so we can all confront him. I really use up my energy sprinting towards them, and as I approach, my heart drops. What I see is 4 guys in a blanket, with 3 or 4 handles of hard liquor surrounding them. 3 of the handles are empty, and the 4th is about half empty. 3 of the guys are completely passed out in the blanket, and the last is half sat up, obviously beyond drunk, with a sort of party hat on that has blue lights on it, and he's talking to himself. His eyes are half closed and he doesn't even register me approaching him, even though now I'm no more than 5 feet away. I turn and see the figure has slowed down and is observing me. And then I see he makes sense of the group state and suddenly starts sprinting at me. As he gets closer, the half-passed out guy's blue light illuminates him, and I can clearly see it's the same guy as before. I make eye contact with him, and I can see he's wide-eyed and looks almost manic, and is barreling at me full sprint. At this point, I decide I have to do something decisive. It seemed like I had underestimated his fitness, and since I just sprinted towards the group and exhausted myself, I was afraid that he might actually be able to catch me if we just continued running along the beach indefinitely, and then who knows what. So, instead of turning around and running, I suddenly sprint towards him, and to the right, which I don't think he was expecting at all. I catch him off balance and run past him, and I literally am full sprinting back to the timeshare without even looking back. Literally all the hairs on my neck were standing, and it felt like a dream where you're barely evading someone, but he's right about to catch you. The adrenaline was crazy, and I keep running, and I start to see the timeshare. I finally turn around to see how close he is, and I see him in the distance, maybe 400 or 500 feet away. He's lost a lot of distance on me. I don't waste any time and I sprint up the boardwalk and towards the base of the timeshare. I jam the elevator buttons and I leap in, and start mashing the closed door button as I'm gasping for air. The door closes and I hit the button for my floor, and when the elevator reaches, I literally sprint back to my room, open the door, enter, and then slam the door and double lock it. I'm breathing heavy and I drop to the floor and just sit there for a minute, not believing what just happened. I crouch and crawl over to my room, as I was literally afraid he might be able to see me through the window of our balcony, and I enter my room. Let's just say, I definitely wasn't able to sleep after that. When I was 7 or 8, my family went to the beach and rented a room. We had the kind of rooms where you rent out both and they connect through a door. Like there's the doors to leave the room, and the doors to the other room. In the room connected to ours, there was this army family, a military dad, some kids, and a wife. My older sister was supposed to be watching me, as we were down at the jacuzzi during the evening. As we were playing and hanging out and just having a good time, I didn't get out much. I was naive and all around a little kid. And this mom literally sits in the jacuzzi with us. She starts talking to us and just making herself real comfortable. I was very naive as a kid. Eventually, we started talking books and she's talking about her kids, who are never even seen. And we're just having a good conversation. Really in depth, I felt like. My sister decides that she wants to go back to the room, but I don't. I wanted to stay and talk with the mom. So, my sister goes back to the room and now it's just 7-year-old me and some 40-year-old woman. It should have set off some creepy alerts, but it didn't. So, she starts talking about going and walking on the beach. It's like 10 p.m. and she wants to go walk on the beach and get shells. And being a kid, I thought it was a great idea. I'd get to walk on the beach at night. I felt so free and like a big kid. I didn't need my sister or anything. So, I run back to the room to tell my grandparents that I'm walking on the beach with Sue, or whatever her name was. I remember my grandmother reading her book, barely listening to what I said. She just shooed me off. It's important to know that I didn't live with my parents. So, I start walking down the creepy motel corridor. Really, it was a dark, dim stairwell at a cheap motel on the beach. So, I'm going through the stairwell like something out of a movie. Too bad, I've never seen this movie. So, I'm walking through the stairwell. The mom's way at the bottom telling me to hurry up and this and that. While walking through the stairs, the army dad comes running hauling butt to where I'm at. And he told me, "Your mom is calling you. It's really important, we gotta go." And he basically grabbed me by my wrist, softly, not aggressively, and led me back to our room. He knocked on the door and explained what had happened. I never thought much of it until about a year ago when it came back to me. This woman was leading me away to the beach alone at night, and this army guy had a terrible feeling in his gut, so we intervened. When he said my mom was looking for me, as I don't live with my mom, it set off some alarms in my head. It's when I realized something was up. So I didn't resist going back to my family. As a kid, I knew since he was saying my mom wanted me that it was important. I just knew something was up because I don't live with my mom. I'm now 20 years old and I truly believe that mom was trying to lure me away to do God knows what. And this army dude had a bad feeling and saved my life. Thinking back, I get such a bad feeling all throughout my body. I know now I wouldn't have made it back from that beach trip. Thank you, army dude. Your gut feeling and having a watchful eye saved something terrible from happening. That woman was creepy, and I never saw her kids. This happened on a beach in the Philippines about 2 years ago. Me and my friends decided to take a quick vacation to let off some steam from work. On our first night, we decided to drink just outside of our hotel room. We got a little tipsy and one of my friends decided to take a walk on the beach to try to meet some other tourists here. I had a bad feeling about what might happen to him since he was already drunk, so I decided to join him together with another friend. He said that he wanted to visit the rock formations, which was a known hookup spot since the place was dark, and there was no other establishment on that part of the shoreline. It stretches to about half the length of a football court with pure darkness. I was reluctant about the idea of him going, but he was adamant, so I agreed as long as he comes back after a few minutes. Me and my other friend waited on the last bar on the end of the shoreline before the dark area starts. Me and my friend were talking about something when we heard a gut-wrenching scream. It sounded like our friend, so we decided to rush in. The only light at that time is coming from the moon, so my friend decided to pull out his phone and turn on the flashlight. We asked around and saw some people hooking up on the sand. We asked if they saw our friend, giving them descriptions on what he might look like, but they said that they never saw him. Our hearts were pounding at this point because we don't know what might have happened to him. We ran until we reached the end of it. There was a huge rock on the shore about 15 feet tall with a local guy standing on top of it. We asked him, "Have you seen our friend?" He was about my height wearing a black shirt. He said, "Was he gay?" I didn't see the relevance of that question, but I said yes. Well, he might have went there in the mangroves, and then pointed to a darker part of the beach filled with mangroves. Using only the light on the phone, we tried searching the small area. It looks like a tiny shelter with the overgrown plants acting as the roof. When we turned back, the guy on the top of the rock is already walking towards us. And then two more guys popped up behind him, probably hiding behind a huge rock. "He wasn't there," I said. And then the guy who was on the rock did a karate chop on my friend's arm, making him let go of his phone, which was successful, as the phone rolled in the sand. My friend was able to grab the phone, and that's when he shouted, "Run!" I was confused with what just happened, that I just started running after he said run, without actually knowing what we were running for. And that's when it hit me that it was an ambush, that we were led into the mangroves for them to steal my friend's phone. I was running for a few seconds when I started feeling the weight of my feet. The sandals that I was wearing got really heavy because I wasn't aware I had been running on wet sand. My friend took off his flip-flops for him to run faster. I wanted to do the same, but I then realized my sandals were strap-on, so I just continued running. I could hear the guys chasing us saying, "Hey, stop, we're just joking." I don't want to fall for what they said, so I continue running, and my legs are starting to feel numb since I'm not really an athletic person. There came a point where I wanted to just stop since I didn't have anything valuable with me. But then I thought that could be a reason for them to harm me, so I ran with all my might till we got to the first bar. My friend was already there catching his breath when we saw the friend that we were looking for, laughing and talking to the locals. We wanted to punch him for what he put us through, but he had no idea what just happened, so we let it go. Our vacation still went through, and we still go to that island from time to time, but we vowed to never go to that side of the beach ever again. Now, that part of the beach has already been closed to tourists. So, to those guys who tried to mug us on the beach, please, let's not meet. And one other thing. My friend said he wasn't the one who screamed, but it sounded like him. If it wasn't him, then who was it?